Let me tell why all a little something about the town of Whispering Pines. It ain't on most maps. You drive too fast down Route 17, you'll miss it altogether. Just a faded sign with bullet holes spelling out "Welcome to Wisp" and GPS, and a gas station that sells moon pies and motor oil in equal measure. The kind of place where nothing ever happens, until it does. I moved to Whispering Pines the summer after my brother passed. Needed somewhere quiet, somewhere slow. Bought myself a little fixer-upper cabin off Millbury Road, with a rickety porch swing and squirrels bold enough to steal your sandwich while you're watching. Peaceful, you know, but something felt off from the start. Not ghosts in the walls kind of off, more like everybody knows something and nobody's talking kind of off. You know that feeling, like walking into a room right after an argument, but nobody tells you what it was about. The air's just thick with secrets. It started with the Jingle. You ever hear that ice cream truck song, that tinkly, happy melody like it's plucked straight out a childhood memory? Yeah, that one. Well, it played every evening in Whispering Pines. Around 7:13 p.m. sharp. Even when it rained. Even when it snowed. Even on Sundays when everything else was closed tighter than a tick. No matter what, that tune would float through the trees like a ghost in a tutu. But here's the catch: no one ever bought anything from the truck. No kids running out with dollar bills. No parents waving from porches. Not even dogs barking at the sound. Just the music, passing through the streets like a funeral procession in a candy-colored hearse. The first time I heard it, I was on my porch sipping sweet tea and staring at the woods. It was dusk. The kind of dusky blue where the shadows get long and the birds switch shifts with the crickets. That's when I heard it, faint, distant, but unmistakable. Musical note, do 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 dee do, do 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 dee do. Musical note. I set down my glass and looked down the road. Nothing. Just a whisper of a melody and a chill that crept down my back like a spider on a tightrope. The next day, I asked around at Jillie's diner. Folks there were friendly enough, once they realized I wasn't a realtor. But when I mentioned the ice cream truck, the whole place went silent. Jillie, the owner, wiped her hands on a towel and said, "Best not talk about that, hon." Why, I asked. It's just one of those things. Always been here. Always will be. A man in the corner, white hair slicked back and a tremor in his spoon, muttered, "You hear the jingle, don't look out the window." And that was it. They all went back to their pie and coffee, like I hadn't said a word. But I'm stubborn. I don't do well with mysteries. And I damn sure don't like being told to ignore something strange in my own backyard. So the next evening, I waited. I sat on my porch with a thermos of coffee, a flashlight, and my old baseball bat just in case. The jingle came right on time. Musical note, do 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 dee do. Musical note. I scanned the road. Nothing. But then, something moved. Down by the old sycamore bend, I saw headlights dim and flickering like candle flames behind foggy glass. The truck emerged slow, rolling forward like it didn't need an engine, just willpower and habit. It was a classic good humor style ride, all white with red trim, but the paint was faded, rust curling around the edges like old paper. The windows were dark, almost blacked out, and the jingle was playing from a speaker that looked like it had been nailed on with prayers. The truck didn't stop. Just rolled by like a ghost ship on asphalt waves. I didn't see a driver. I watched it disappear into the woods on the other side of the street, swallowed by the trees. The jingle faded. The crickets resumed. And I sat there, staring, heart thudding like a jackhammer in a tomb. The next few days, I tried asking around again, but folks were tighter than a miser's wallet. So I started digging. And that's when I found the missing kids. 32 of them. Over the last 50 years, all from Whispering Pines. Ages 5 to 12. Vanished without a trace, mostly in the summer months. No suspects. No evidence. Just poof, gone like smoke in a storm. The most recent was a boy named Caleb Holloway. Went missing last July. His bike was found at the edge of Millbury Road, front wheel still spinning, a single chocolate coin wrapper caught in the spokes. His mama lives down the road from me. I saw her one evening, sitting on the porch with a photo album in her lap, flipping pages with fingers that trembled like leaves in a breeze. I wanted to ask her, but something in her eyes stopped me. Like she already knew I'd heard the jingle. Like she knew what was coming. I started keeping track. The truck only appeared on clear nights. Always at 7:13. Always drove the same path starting at Sycamore, passing my house, heading into the woods. Never stopping. Never speeding. Just rolling slow, like death in drive-through form. I started setting up cameras. Trail cams. Motion sensors. I even borrowed a drone from a teenager 2 towns over who thought I was some YouTube ghost hunter. But every time I reviewed the footage, the truck wasn't there. Just the jingle. Playing in the background. Untraceable. Like the air itself was humming. Then, one night, I decided to break the one rule I'd been warned about. I looked out the window. Now let me be clear, I'd seen the truck before. But this time, I saw the driver. If you can call it that. He wasn't human. He wore the uniform of an ice cream man from the 1950s, paper hat, white shirt, red bow tie. But his face. Lord have mercy. His face looked melted. Like wax dripping off bone. No eyes. Just black pits where they should be. And his mouth stretched wide in a grin that didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. He turned his head toward me. And the jingle changed. It slowed down. Like a record melting in the sun, musical note do, 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 d, do. Musical note. I slammed the curtains shut and didn't sleep that night. Didn't sleep the night after either. Something had changed. Something in that smile reached into my head and stirred the pot. And the next morning, the squirrels were gone. The birds, too. Just silence. And a single chocolate coin on my porch. Wrapped in gold foil. With a date stamped into it. July 4th. Which, by my calendar, was 3 days away. That's when I knew. The ice cream man wasn't just passing through. He was coming. And next time, he might just stop. They say heat brings out the worst in people, but in Whispering Pines, it was the cold. The morning after Max disappeared, the sun rose like any other, burning bright through the sycamore trees, making the pavement shimmer. But the air, it felt wrong. Too still. Too clean. And it had this unnatural chill that made the back of your neck prickle. Birds didn't sing that morning. Dogs didn't bark. Even the wind seemed to tiptoe around our cul-de-sac like it knew better than to make a sound. By 8 a.m. news of Max had made it around the block. Miss Carol from 2 doors down swore she saw him last night, chasing after the ice cream man. He was skipping, she told the officers, her voice trembling as she rung her rosary. Like he was under a spell. They didn't believe her, of course. Wrote it off as another case of kid ran away, even though Max had never even gone to the mailbox without asking his mama first. But something about Miss Carol's voice, the way she said under a spell, stuck with me. That, and the fact that nobody heard the ice cream truck that morning. Not a jingle. Not a bell. Not a single rumble of that rusty engine. And yet when I opened the front door, there it was again. A single cone. Chocolate. Sprinkles. Placed dead center on the welcome mat. Still cold. Still untouched. And already melting in the heat. I didn't eat it this time. Didn't touch it, either. I just stared, heart thudding in my ears. It hadn't been there 5 seconds ago. And yet now. Here it sat, like a dare. Like a threat. I wasn't the only one. Every kid on our block got one that day. Every doorstep. Every cone. And not one of our parents had heard a thing. My buddy Derek called me around noon, whispering like we were planning a heist. Dude. We gotta talk. Meet me behind the school by the old basketball court. You mean the haunted one? Yeah, the one with the dead hoop. Hurry. And bring a flashlight. It was broad daylight. But I brought one anyway. When I got there, Derek looked like he hadn't slept in days. He had dark circles under his eyes and his hoodie on backwards, clutching a spiral notebook like it was sacred scripture. I figured it out, he said. The cones. The disappearances. The cold. He flipped open his notebook, pages filled with scribbles and maps of our neighborhood. X's marked the houses of missing kids. O's circled places we heard the jingle. Lines connected everything like a spider web. In the center, one word, factory. You remember that old factory on Route 9? Derek asked. The dairy plant thought it was condemned. It was. But last night I saw lights. Movement. And then I saw his truck pull in. You followed the ice cream man. Kind of. I think he saw me, though. And dude. When he turned around, his face. Wasn't he right? His smile was way too wide. And his eyes, they glowed. I didn't know what to say. Part of me thought Derek was just freaking out, letting stories mess with his head. But then he pulled out a picture. A grainy phone shot. Dark. Blurry. But you could just make out the shape of the ice cream truck, parked under a flickering light. And a figure standing beside it. Tall. Thin. And grinning. That night, everything changed. The cold came back. Not the kind of cold that makes you shiver. No, this was the kind that creeps. The kind that snakes its way under your skin and wraps around your spine. That seeps in through the windows even when they're locked. Our house thermostat read 72, but I could see my breath. The walls felt damp. My bed sheets froze at the edges. Outside, a fog rolled in so thick it swallowed the street lights whole. And from deep within it, I heard it. The jingle. But not the happy-go-lucky tune from childhood memories. No, this one had changed. Slower. Twisted. Minor key. Like someone took Pop Goes the Weasel and played it on a broken music box dipped in something evil. I ran to the window and pulled back the curtain. Nothing. Then movement. Out of the fog came a shape. The ice cream truck. Lights off. Engine silent. It moved without turning its wheels. Just gliding. Floating. Like it didn't need roads. And then. It stopped. Right in front of my house. No driver. Just that same melting cone sitting on the hood. And then it vanished. No sound. No puff of smoke. Just gone. The next morning, 2 more kids were missing. Nina and Lucas. Both from across the street. Their parents had no idea. They thought the kids had slept in. But we knew. We all knew. Because on every doorstep, same as before, another cone. Cold. Chocolate. Sprinkles. Derek and I met again. This time in the crawl space of my garage, which we now called base camp. We weren't just scared now, we were invested. We had notes, plans, a hand-drawn map of the town, and even a stolen walkie-talkie from his older brother's scout troop. "We have to go to the factory," Derek said. "You mean break in? We need to know what he's doing in there. Why the cones? Why the fog? Why the cold?" I nodded. Because deep down, I already knew. This wasn't about ice cream anymore. It never was. That night, we snuck out. Bikes. Backpacks. Flashlights. No phones, just in case they were being watched. The road to Route 9 was dark and empty. No cars. No sounds. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. And when we reached the factory, it wasn't abandoned. Lights buzzed in the upper windows. Chimneys puffed cold white smoke, and from the main bay door, we heard something that made our skin crawl. Laughter. Not the kind you want to join in on. No, this was something else. Mechanical. Echoing. Almost. Hollow. And then we saw them. Kids. Our friends. Walking in a line through the side door. Eyes vacant. Smiling. And each one held a cone. Still cold. Still perfect. And glowing faintly in the dark. Some memories melt away. Others bite back. The factory loomed over us like a sleeping beast. Rusted metal, broken windows, vines clawing up the sides, but through those cracks, we saw flickering lights. And shadows. Too many shadows. "Okay," Derek whispered, pressing his back against the wall. "Plan A, we sneak in through the delivery chute, get proof, and get out." "And Plan B?" I asked, gripping the flashlight like it could stop whatever was inside. "We die horribly." Comforting. We crept around the side, ducking under busted fencing and past a row of rotted milk crates. The delivery chute was exactly where Derek said it'd be, wide enough to crawl through, covered with a loose steel flap that squealed like a banshee when we opened it. Inside, it was worse than I imagined. Rows of machines churned and hissed, connected by slimy tubes pumping glowing liquid. Conveyor belts carried empty cones down the line, stopping under metal arms that plopped scoops of pale, too perfect ice cream onto them, each scoop whispering as it settled. "I swear to you," it whispered. Names. Max, Nina. Lucas. And then I saw the freezer. It stood in the center of the room like a throne. Chrome, 10 feet tall, lined with blinking lights and covered in frost. A clear window on the front showed what looked like movement. People. Faces, flickering in and out like bad reception on a TV screen. It was them. The missing kids. Frozen. Stuck. Screaming soundlessly. "Holy crap," Derek whispered, grabbing my arm. "They're not gone. They're in there." A sharp click echoed behind us. We turned. And there he was. The ice cream man up close. He looked wrong. Not just creepy wrong, not human wrong. His skin had this slick, glossy texture like the surface of a sundae. His smile stretched all the way to his ears, teeth like little sugar-coated razors. And his eyes swirling pools of blue and pink, like melted sherbet hiding something ancient underneath. "Found you," he sang in that same twisted jingle tone. "I scream, you scream." He lunged. We ran. Through the conveyor belts. Over the tubs of churning syrup. Past a vat labeled flavor core, "Do not open." The place was alive. Pipes hissed like snakes. Vents spat cold air. Machines turned to face us as we ran, red eyes blinking like they knew. "I think it's feeding on them," Derek yelled. "Their joy, their memories, it's making this. This ice cream of the damned. We need to break the freezer," I shouted. "That's where they are." We doubled back, dodging a swipe from the ice cream man's elongated arm. It stretched like licorice, slamming into a vat of strawberry mix and sending pink goo flying. Back at the freezer, I swung my flashlight like a bat and shattered the control panel. Sparks flew. The lights dimmed. The whispers stopped. And then the screams began. But not from us, from the freezer. It howled. Buckled. Cracked open from the inside as wave after wave of frigid air blasted out like a winter storm. And from that storm came the kids. Frozen. Pale. But alive. They stumbled out like sleepwalkers. Shivering. Whispering our names. And behind them the ice cream man shrieked, collapsing into a puddle of slush and sticky rainbow ooze that steamed as it hit the floor. "Get out!" I yelled. "Now!" We ran, dragging the kids with us. The factory shook like it was falling apart, the machines exploding one by one. Sprinkles rained from the ceiling. The conveyor belts caught fire. And as we burst through the exit and into the foggy night, the entire building let out one final, piercing jingle. And collapsed into itself. The police never found the factory. When they finally showed up, all that was left was a crater filled with half-melted cones and a smell like burnt sugar and sadness. Max, Nina, Lucas, they were okay. Sort of. They never talked about what they saw in the freezer. They wouldn't eat ice cream again. Some of them moved away. Derek and we stuck around. Someone had to. Because last week, I heard it again. That jingle. Different street. Same cold. And on my porch this morning a cone. Chocolate. Sprinkles. Still cold. Still perfect. Still waiting.